Hey everybody, it's Podcast Professor Lij here, and I wanted to do a box opening, unboxing video for you. I've never done an unboxing video before, but I thought I would jump in and try one. Do my very first unboxing video for a brand new Miktek Procast SST. The mic that we are constantly recommending on Podcast Professors as an excellent choice for your podcast. Sounds killer. It's an all-in-one recording studio. Plug your headphones right in, USB cable plugs straight into the computer, and you are up and running. So I figured I probably wanted to do a really awesome unboxing video, and I found myself putting it off, and finally I was just like, let's just jump in and do a video right now. So pardon the simple ghetto style here, but we're going to jump right in and see what we got. So I'll show you guys what we got. Here is just on my dining room table, the Procast SST box when it arrives. Totally awesome looking. It looks like, this dark Death Star of a box here for making your podcast sound fantastic. The lighting's a little bit poor. Sorry about that. Here, I'll put it up in the light. You can see there's a picture of the microphone on the outside of the box. You got all these images of people using it in different scenarios. They are, they're catering to podcasters, but they're also catering to musicians, since it's also a great choice for just recording your guitar and voice and that sort of thing. They got a few details on the top, tell you a little bit more about the mic, some of the finer points of what it has inside and how it works. What do we got here on this side? Oh goodness, sorry about that. A few more details, the barcodes and things like that, and more of the logo stuff. Flip this guy around. We've got a few details on what's inside. So, talk about the podcast studio station by Miktek. It's an ideal solution for professional broadcasting. It's a high-quality USB studio condenser microphone with an integrated radio-style boom and onboard 24-bit audio interface. So the interface is built right into this thing. You can actually plug guitars and keyboards into it if you wanted to. And as you can see on the back of this thing, it's got additional input jacks so that you can plug in a second set of headphones. You can plug a USB cable to go to your computer, and then you can also plug in a second microphone. And as you'll see when I open this box, they include the necessary cables for doing that. All right, so here's some more features on the front. We've got a channel clip light. It tells you if your signal is too hot when you're recording. That's really super helpful for podcasting, because the last thing we want to do is get something that doesn't sound good. So when that light turns red, the green one that's down there, that is an indication that you're sending too much signal into the computer. There's also mute buttons on the two channels. You see it has two faders, an input 1 and an input 2. And those are the levels, just a simple fader that you slide up and down to get your level going into the computer. And at the top, they each have a mute button. So if you want to mute one mic or the other, you can do it right there. So that means while you're interviewing somebody, let's say their mic is on input 2, you can unmute yourself to ask a question and then mute it again afterwards to keep your side of the conversation clean and quiet in case you sniffle on the mic or cough or something like that. Another great feature for the mute button is when you are using it for Skype or Google Hangout, you can mute your voice on your end. So if you've asked a question and you just want to keep quiet while they answer, you can press the mute button down in that scenario. Let's see, we've got input selector switch. You can switch between microphone and line inputs right there. And the line inputs are those jacks on the back here. See the line input? You can just plug a guitar cable straight in, or the stereo outputs of a keyboard if you're making music with it too, which you might do if you're doing your own intro outro for your podcast. The faders, the mix fader level control. This is actually the headphone volume for the headphone jack on the front. A little bit of the layout of this is a little funny and unexpected at first. That knob right there controls the headphone jack that's on the back of this unit. See that right there? Sorry, I'm pointing with my thumb. This is how I'm able to hold it up and videotape with the other hand. And then this slider is the headphone volume for the front jack for your headphones, which is great. And then over here, you've got something that you're probably only going to mess with if you're doing music, which is the delay. If your computer latency is set too high on your recording application or workstation, you may hear an echo or a slight delay on your voice because this is going in USB and it goes through the audio core audio input of a Macintosh, for example. So this knob, if you go all the way, if you go halfway, you're going to hear what's coming right in on this, and if you go over to the other side, CPU, you hear what's coming off the computer. I leave it in this setting all the time. I just hear what's coming off the computer. That always works great for me in my podcast. I don't think you ever have to even worry about that. 48 volts here is for the second microphone input. It sends phantom power to that microphone. So if you have a phantom powered mic on the back and you need 48 volts, you've got it. Here's some details on the mic itself. You see it's got the grill screen on it, which is great. And then it also comes with a foam cover, which you don't see in this photo. And that's the pop screen. You can tighten these to position the mic, which is great. I actually was able to loosen mine here and then install a mic flag on this. So we actually got one of those special mic flag boxes, which we should have in the pod store at Podcast Professors, and I'll have a link to that in this video. So if you want to get a mic flag for your mic that has your podcast brand on it, you can put that right on there, and that's pretty cool. Then also down here, you've got a switch which you can slide over, and that angled line that looks like a broken worm, well, it's not a broken worm. It's actually a low-cut filter that cuts some of the low frequencies out so that your plosives, your wind noise of your P's and your B's and your B and stuff like that doesn't explode the input of your podcast. High-pass filter, you see it cuts off 100 hertz and below, which is great. It's perfect frequency for doing that. So all right, let's open this thing up. That's enough looking at the outside of the box. Let's see what's inside this thing. All right, here we are. Pop this guy open. I got to do it all lefty and one-handed, so if you only have one hand, rest assured that you will be able to open the Podcast Procast from Miktek, the SST microphone, no problem. Actually, I'm saying that before I do it, so you might want to wait until I actually completely open this box to see. Look at that. So nice and neat. And you've got this special absorbent thing in here that kind of keeps it from wiggling around inside the box. It's all packed very tightly. It's totally solid. Feels really, really sturdy. So no worries there about it getting damaged in shipping. Pretty simple packaging. We're not trying to do fancy, Apple boxes where you are afraid to throw them away. We're just doing a solid box that lets you know what's inside and keeps it all safe. You can see how it's shipped in here. The microphone is folded down. There's some bubble wrap on it so that it makes it safely to your location. There's a piece of foam in here that helps prevent anything from damaging those faders down there. We'll take this stuff out. We'll pull the microphone up here, and then we can slide. Now I wonder if I need scissors or something to open this guy. I think I do. Let me see if I got a pair of scissors. I do. Sorry about the messy desk and the beer on the table, but here's a pair of scissors. Let's get into this guy and see what we got. All right, we're going to open this guy up. Try hard not to, this whole lefty one-handed thing is a bit tricky, I gotta confess. I don't recommend it. I highly recommend you don't shoot a box opening video for your Miktek SST when it arrives and they use two hands. I think I'm going to open this and then lift the video back up and I'll fix it in editing. Okay, we're back. I was able to cut it off. Now I can gingerly remove it gently with one hand. There it was. There was no tape involved. I just had to cut it. All right, and then here's this guy. Look at that. Pivots beautifully on there. It's got a brand new foam pop screen on it. Feels totally solid. And now I'll pull the rest out of this thing and get the base out of the box too. And I'll probably have to pause again for a sec while I cut this guy out. But you can lift the entire thing. See this? You can actually just lift from here. I think you can actually lift from here too as well. This thing is really strong. This is attached to the base. You can see it pivots on the base, but it's also attached, so it won't fall out on you or become detached or anything like that. There it is sitting on the tabletop. And then it comes with an additional manual here, which is packaged in there nicely and snugly, and it actually has the additional wiring. So it provides you with a USB cable and an additional mic input. So we're going to break that out here in a second. I'll show you what all that looks like. So I'm going to pause one more time while I get this off of here. Hang tight, everybody. Wow, look at that. That is gorgeous. I gotta say, that is a nice looking microphone. I remember the first time I saw one of these, I was kind of excited about it. I was really excited about it. I just think it looks super cool. It's like a little, podcast Death Star robot from outer space or something like that. So I'm sure somebody else is going to come up with a much cleverer way of saying that than I just did. But you get the idea. You've got your little podcasting robot. You can maneuver this arm so easily, any which way you want, set it up. You can also pivot this guy to go on top and then spin it around, and look, now you've got the mic on top if you want, which is really cool. So you can easily, here, look, I can stand it up. I can do a standing podcast like this, just bring it to the edge of the table, plug it in. Now all of a sudden I'm standing, plenty of room to gesture with my hands, talk, be expressive, have a lively show that's not boring and dull to listen to. Or if I prefer a boring and dull show, I can do that too. Watch this. Set it down here. Lean on the table and podcast into it like this. So if that's the kind of sound you're looking for, totally cool. I don't judge. I just try to be helpful. This is it. I'm going to open up the next bag and we'll see what else is in here. Our additional parts. And then we'll plug it in, see what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, I've opened the baggie. I've removed the manual. There it is. Look at that. Pretty sweet. But never mind the fact that it was snugly packaged in there and just a little bit bent around the edges. Who cares? I'm going to bend it myself anyway. I'm not looking for a flat manual. Who wants a flat manual? So it's got a bunch of info in here. It tells you all about the features of the microphone, how it works. It's got some great diagrams in there to explain what all the buttons and knobs do, so you can figure this stuff out and not feel overwhelmed by your strange new magical device. There's some nice imagery about the back of the unit and how everything works, etc., 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 all that kind of stuff. You get the picture here. Put that aside for a minute, because who wants to read manuals anyway? Hey, so here's the USB cable. I'm going to say you probably know how to use a USB cable, but if you don't, this one that you need has two ends. It's got this end, which is the squarish USB end, and I don't know the exact model number of this end of a USB cable. I don't know that it matters anyway, because I don't think anybody's going to tell you about it in those terms. But it's the square USB, and that goes directly into the back of the unit. So here's the SST. The square one is going to go right in the back, and it just inserts in there. Voila, no problem. And then the other end of this, I didn't unwrap this, but you get the idea. This end goes right into the USB slot on your computer, whether it's a PC or a Macintosh, and it just plugs right in. And the power coming down the USB cable is what powers the microphone, and it's going to cause all of this to light up. So that's where you get your power from for the microphone, and also for the lights and the inputs and the gain and all that kind of stuff that comes through here. So that's basically what that's all about. Then let's look at this additional mic input. Here's the cable that comes with it. What this is this is an XLR cable. It's got 3 connectors in it. You can see the mini XLR jack right here has 3 inputs. That's going to be a plus, a minus, and a ground. You're not going to have to worry about that because you don't care about that stuff. But what you do care about is the fact that this plugs snugly right into the back of this unit. Clips right in, no problem. And the other end is a regular scale XLR connector. And it feels totally solid. You know, it's not It's not like a cheap connector or anything that is not going to work on you. It seems solid enough to last. You just plug this right into the back of a microphone. You can use a microphone of choice like the Miktek PM9 is an excellent dynamic microphone. So when you're ready, you can actually upgrade your podcast studio just by simply getting the PM9 and get a new stand for that, plug it in there, and then just have the microphone, coming right up to your voice, and you can plug your mic into this, the Procast, and use the secondary input as the gain for your microphone. So, it's basically just, you'd have to get the microphone and you'd have to get a desk stand, and that's it to upgrade your system after you've got the SST. And you may even decide that you like the sound of the built-in SST mic more than you like the dynamic mic. You'll just have to be the judge of that and decide what you like the sound of on your voice the best. But the nice thing about a dynamic mic when you do decide to move up to it is that it's very forgiving and sounds great. So that's some thoughts about that. Here's how you tighten this thing. So if you want to adjust it, you can just kind of move it, and then if you want to give it a little tighten right there, then it stays in place, no problem. Here, we'll loosen this guy. We'll adjust it up. Sorry about the shaky camera. And then I'll just tighten it down. There you go. Adjust this guy up. And you can see the whole thing just sits up there wherever you want it to go. You can bring this guy down and go underneath and then go like that, or bring this around the other side if the cable, of course you want to set it so that the cable's got the most flexibility, but there you go. So now let's take you inside, plugging this thing into the computer and see what it does. Stand by. Okay, so here I've set the mic on my desk. You can see it here. Here's my computer there. Nothing too fancy going on here. Just straight up desk. There's my laptop over on that side. And somehow my desk got magically cleaned up between the last video that you just saw and this one. I wonder how that happened. So let's just guide this cable over. Again, I'm going to try and do it one-handed. Let's guide it over here and see if we can get this guy plugged directly into my laptop and get it going there. So here it is. I'm plugging it into the USB jack on the laptop. Sorry, a little bit awkward with the lighting, but you can just see it just plugged straight into the side of the laptop. Nothing fancy about that. This other one is my keyboard, which is living down here. This third one here is a Thunderbolt to DVI cable, which runs a monitor cable back to my 24-inch monitor. So just a reminder that your laptop can be your home computer as well as your portable one. So you can just have it, take it on with you when you need to go out and about, to the coffee shop, edit your podcast, whatever you want to do. And then when you're at home, just dock it by plugging a few things in: power, monitor, keyboard, and your Procast SST, and you have an instant home podcasting studio. So what that does is, you see now that the USB is connected, we've got the lights, we've got the different levels here. This would be my headphone level. This is my mic 2 input for the back, so usually I leave this muted. I'm not using that, and that's down. This one I want unmuted so that it's working, and I'll usually set this right about there, just above the halfway point. Sounds like a great level for my voice for most every thing I want to record into, but each app is a little different. But again, the most important thing is that if you set this too high, it might sound really exciting in your headphones at low volume, or when you're talking softly into the mic. But as soon as you make your voice loud or get a little bit excited, this will go red and you'll get distortion. So that's why you want to set this accordingly so that it really doesn't overload on the way in, and then you'll get a great solid sound. So that's the idea. This guy, again, you can leave this one down. It's for the back set of headphones. I'll plug my headphones right into here in a moment. I won't need this 48 phantom volt thing. And boy, the lighting's terrible. Sorry about that. Wait, I've got some backup lighting up here. Look at that. Hey, all right. Then this one right here is for my CPU. I'll set that guy to maximum CPU, and that's going to hear everything coming out of the headphones, coming back from the computer to the headphones right there and into my ear. See that? Hopefully you didn't see too far in my ear. So that's the way this is going to work. I'm going to take you inside the computer next, and we are going to set up this microphone and record my voice into Pro Tools. Hooray! see it inside. All right, groovy. So now we're in the computer screen. You're seeing this. I'm actually cheating just ever so slightly because you're already hearing the Miktek, because that is the mic that I'm using to record into ScreenFlow with. So ScreenFlow saw the Miktek Procast right away and allowed me to use it as my vocal mic. But I will show you what happens if I was opening Protools to use it. So here's Protools. I've already opened it actually. I've opened the app and I'm going to do a new session. And I'll just create blank session, 24-bit 48K. Sounds great. No problem there. Call this a test. And I'll put this directly on the desktop. So we got a place to put it. So let's see, where did it actually put the file? There it is. That's probably the folder right there, test recording. And then it makes this screen. It's not full screen because I guess the last one I did wasn't. But there's my Pro Tools session. I'm going to go up to Setup, Playback Engine. Playback Engine is already doing the built-in output of the computer. I'm actually going to switch this. I'm going to try a couple of things here, but we're going to switch it. I believe I'm going to need to set up my aggregate device before I try and use this. So let's actually go do that. So let's go to set up hardware. Actually, I got to do it over here. Sorry about that. Let me jump over here. Audio MIDI setup for the Macintosh right here. Now I'm going to go down. I'm going to make a new aggregate device. I've already got one here that I've created in the past, but I'm going to start over. So I hit plus, create an aggregate device, and then I'm going to give this one a name. We'll call this test Procast. Did I spell that right? No. Procast SST. Awesome. Now we're going to have to select what goes into this test. So we'll do the Miktek and the Miktek. It does it twice. The reason it does it twice is because it is using one of these for the input and then the other for the output. So that's why it's in there two times. I'll go ahead and click on the drift correction just to make sure that there's nothing that could go squirrely with that, because sometimes Pro Tools can lose sync. I've only really experienced that between the Miktek, actually not even the Miktek, other stuff, the 2626 that I use, the Profire. When I use that in conjunction with Soundflower, I get that, and I have to check this drift correct. All right, so let me get away from that. That's a little rabbit trail there we're taking. Let me go back to Pro Tools, and we'll find Test Procast SST. Close this down. Now go up to Setup in Pro Tools, Playback Engine, and then switch this to Test Procast SST. It's going to want to shut down and reopen. Just say yes. Okay, sounds great. Love it. You can move this down to something shorter if you want for a little less delay through Pro Tools. We'll try 32 samples and see if the computer... sometimes your computer will not really like that, and it'll want you to set it higher, like 64 or 128. Now we go to I/O setting, and we double check for what's going on there. So set up I/O, and we're going to check our inputs and outputs. As you can see, it recognizes, I guess that was the Test Procast SST, and A is for aggregate. So that's just a little acronym it came up with for aggregate Test Procast SST. So we know that that's looking at the right thing. And then analog is 1 and 2 inputs, and we know that that's all this has is 1 and 2 inputs, so that's great. It actually left this 3-4 there. It's not relevant because it doesn't, because there is no 3-4. That was just leftover stuff. Same thing here. This was just leftover from what was in there. So in fact, if you want to start fresh, you go to input, and then you just say, you can actually delete this, delete everything that's there. Whoops, delete. And same with bus. Inputs, outputs, and buses. Delete them. Then go back to input and say default. And then default and default. And what that does is that puts in the default settings for inputs and outputs based on what your playback engine is that you have selected. So because our playback engine has the Miktek Procast SST in it, it's defaulting to 2 inputs left and right. It's defaulting to 2 outputs left and right. And then same thing with the buses. It uses the, there's a little bit of an internal busing going on with these outputs. It says the name output 1 and 2, this is check marked so that it actually goes, it maps to the actual output 1 and 2. I know that's a little tricky, but that gives you the option of coming up with creative naming and routing of things That's a Pro Tools thing. You won't have to worry about that. Just know that that exists there. And then everything else after that is just internal buses for your recording setup for Pro Tools, none of which you're going to need for podcasting, so it doesn't really matter. Then you can click OK. Now we can make a new track. Go to track here and then do new. And we'll make one mono audio track. Samples is fine. If there's other options in Pro Tools like ticks, that has to do with MIDI music making, not necessary for what we're doing. Samples is great. Create. Make it a little larger if we want. There's input 1, which is great. Oh, it gave it some different names. That's funny. I didn't see that earlier. And then output 1 and 2. Great. Now if we go into record, here I'm going to mute this so we don't hear it right away. Go into record. Look, you can see my voice coming in right there. How awesome is that? Double click it, give it a name. Lij test. Great. Go into record. I'm hearing my voice because I'm hearing it actually through the Miktek. You can hear your voice directly from the mic into the headphones a little bit anyway, even if you're not going through the recording app. So that's just something to be aware of, that you'll probably hear your voice in the headphones even before you get it routed through your computer. So don't be put off by that. It's a nice feature because it means that I can hear my voice kind of naturally in the space, but it could make you think that you're hearing your voice before you actually are through the computer. If I unmute this now, we'll hear a double of my voice because you're going to hear my voice on the screencasting app that is recording this right now, ScreenFlow, and you're also going to hear it going to Pro Tools and coming back. So let's try that out. Double my voice, and it sounds pretty awesome, like a cool flanger effect for a robot. That is the effect of a very short delay between two different things. So my voice, I'm hearing it immediately through the microphone, and then I'm hearing it again through here, and I'm also hearing it through some ScreenFlow. So that is something to, again, not be alarmed by it. But let's now hit stop. And now if I go back, I'm going to hit play on Pro Tools, and we're going to hear my voice coming back straight from Pro Tools. You'll hear your voice in the headphones even before you get it routed through your... There you go. Now let me put a plugin on here, and what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to gain it way up and make it a lot louder on playback. So I'll just grab this plugin and turn this up there. Take this out of record and then play it back. So that's just something to be aware of, that you'll probably hear your voice in the headphones even before you get it routed through your computer. So don't be put off by that. It's a nice feature because it means that I can hear my voice kind of... Okay, so now I should clarify that a little bit. I think the reason I was hearing my voice is I actually had my headphones up too loud before. So I was hearing the natural bleed through within the Procast at a level that was louder than I was going to need. Now when I've turned up what I've recorded here and I'm playing it back, I'm hearing this Pro Tools at a much more normal volume. A little bit anyway, even if you're not going through the recording app. So that's just something to be aware of, that you'll probably hear your voice in the headphones even before you get it routed through your computer. And that is closer to what you would hope for from your podcast. So I'll put a little EQ before it, and we'll roll off some more low end and see what we get. There is that, and turn this on. Here's our low cut. See 100 right there? Everything below 100 is stuff that you don't really necessarily need for your voice on a podcast. So you can judge your ear. You can trust your ear as far as if you go up too high and you don't like the sound of your voice, just pull this back again. But this is a setting that you can always use by default, is about 100 and below. A little bit anyway, even if you're not going through the recording app. So that's just something to be aware of, that you'll probably hear your voice in the headphones even before you get it routed through your computer. So don't be put off by that. It's a nice feature because it means that I can hear my voice kind of naturally in the space, but it could make you think that you're hearing your voice before you actually are through the computer. If I unmute this now, we'll hear a double of my voice because you're going to hear my voice on the screencasting app that is recording this right now, ScreenFlow, and you're also going to hear it going to Pro Tools and coming back. So let's try that out. Double. There you go. So that's pretty much what it is. That's the Miktek Procast SST, from box opening to recording yourself for your podcast. and it is an awesome choice. I highly recommend it. I'm loving using it myself. Of course, I have some other options too, and we do give you some insight into different options in the Pod Store and in our videos in the Podcast PhD course. We get a little deeper into what some of those sounds are and how they work and what they look like. That's it. Podcast Professor Lij Shaw signing off. Thanks so much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you do choose to use the SST and you're unboxing it yourself, boy, do I hope you enjoy it. And we can't wait to get your feedback on it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly in the Podcast Professors Facebook group. We'll see you there. And as always, remember, podcast yourself. Cheers.
I simply must impress upon you not to miss out on our Podcast Professors private Facebook group. Here, you can post your questions for your podcast professors and your fellow students alike to assist you in solving your podcast challenges. Free your mind. Podcast yourself.
PodcastProfessors.com